Hello everyone. In this video, I will talk about the hypothesis, Kiefer equals Orgodemir, that has been whispered about in Dragon Quest VII. Kiefer is the main character's best friend and important character in DQ7. Orgodemir is the final boss of DQ7. In Japan, there is a rumor whispering that these two people are the same person. But first of all, my personal opinion is that I think this hypothesis is incorrect. However, I also believe that during the production stage, there was a high possibility that Kiefer and Orgodemir were stories about the same person. By the way, this is a theory that has been rumored for 20 years, but we still don't know anything definitive about it. DQ7 is a complex story that transcends time and space, but I think knowing the outline of this hypothesis will help you understand it even better. Whether you believe in this hypothesis or not, please read until the end. I'm sure you'll like DQ7 even more than before. Whether you believe in this hypothesis or not, please read until the end. DQ7 was released as a PS software in 2000. The catchphrase was, "Can be anyone." It sold 414 copies, making it the highest-selling software for the first PS. At that time, it recorded sales exceeding that of FF7. Although DQ7 gained such popularity, the work received mixed reviews. There are some very strong critical opinions. The main reason for the critical reviews is that DQ7's story is dark. Until then, the main story of Dragon Quest was a hero of justice defeating an evil monster. But in DQ7 there are multiple episodes where people degrade other people. Although there are monsters working behind the scenes, there are many scenes depicting ugly conflicts between humans, giving the impression that it is a dark story. The Rexwood scene symbolizes the dark story and has an important meaning in this hypothesis. In this scene, Matilda, the sister of the hero Rex, who once saved the village, appears. She was an ordinary girl. But, while her brother Rex was fighting monsters for the village, the villagers abandoned him and Rex lost his life. Furthermore, Matilda is taken alive by monsters. Matilda is provoked by the monster to grow a grudge against the villagers, and becomes a monster herself. Matilda commits evil acts such as kidnapping the women of the village in order to take revenge on the villagers. However, in the end she regains her human heart and chooses death. The story of DQ7 has an episode in which humans become monsters due to their evil hearts. Also, one of the features of DQ7 is the system related to the mysterious stone tablet. The story begins when Kiefer stumbles across the stone table. Mysterious stone tablets are scattered all over the world. It depicts a region sealed by Orgodemir. If collect the scattered, mysterious stone tablets, the seals in the depicted areas will be broken. Then, we'll travel to the area where the seal has been broken. Then travel through the region to find the next stone tablets, and unlock new regions. In DQ7, the story progresses by repeating this process. Also, Esther, the starting point of the journey, is now in the present, and other areas are in the past world. The story revolves around unraveling the mysteries of the world while going back and forth between the present and past. As they unravel mysteries in various worlds, they discover the existence of Orgodemir, the culprit behind it all. Why was Orgodemir, the scourge of the world, thought to be the same person as Kiefer? First, let's take a look at Kiefer. He is from Esther, like the main character, and is the prince of that kingdom. He is struggling to solve the mystery of a mysterious temple on the island. This temple is where the story begins. Kiefer has warrior-type abilities and leads the battle with high attack power. He is the most reliable character until the beginning of the story. However, during the journey, he decides to remain in the past world and leaves the party. He left the party because he fell in love with Deja's daughter Layla. Kiefer's sudden departure caused many Japanese fans to say things like, "He chose a woman's butt over world peace." On the other hand, Orgodemir is the final boss of DQ7, a monster that almost conquered the world and terrorized the people. Orgodemir's first form is a frightening snake-like figure. The second form is a humanoid with wings, and eventually it changes to a fourth form. Among Japanese DQ fans, he is said to be the monster that came closest to conquering the world. At the beginning of the story, he had already conquered all areas except Esterd Island. Orgodemir also hates the god who created the world, and challenges him and his subordinates to war, and although he is seriously injured, he wins. Another characteristic of Orgodemir is its understanding of human nature. It is a monster that is adept at controlling people's hearts, not just by using force, but by transforming itself into a god and trying to control people's hearts. There is no other monster in the DQ series that tries to take over the world by using people's religious beliefs like him. Why did it become assumed that Kiefer and Orgodemir were the same person? One of the reasons for this assumption was surprising. That is the Old Testament. If we compare the story of Dragon Quest VII with the contents of the Old Testament, can learn something interesting, so I would like to share this with you. The subtitle of the Japanese version of DQ7 is Warriors of Eden. However, in DQ7, the word Eden never appears in the story, let alone the name of a person or place. Eden is the place where Adam and Eve lived in the Old Testament. Eden in the Old Testament is described as a paradise on earth, where Adam and Eve lived. But one day they are banished from Eden. The reason is that they broke their promise with God and ate the forbidden fruit. The reason why they ate the forbidden fruit was because the black snake seduced them. The snake said to them, "For God knows that when you eat of it your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil." The two then succumb to the temptation of the snake and eat the forbidden fruit. As a result, the two of them incurred the wrath of God and were banished from Eden. The contents of the Old Testament that we have talked about so far have some things in common with the beginning of DQ7. Esterd Island, where there are no conflicts and no monsters, is similar to Eden, which is said to be a paradise. There is a temple on Esterd Island that is forbidden to enter, which is a bit similar in setting to Forbidden Fruit. The main character and Maribel are the men and women living in Esterd. It was Kiefer who invited the two to the Forbidden Land. The relationship between these three people can be thought of as being similar to the relationship between Adam, Eve, and the serpent. Also, if look more closely at the snakes in the Old Testament, find something interesting. This snake's true identity is a fallen angel named Lucifer. Lucifer is the devil who controls pride, one of the 7 deadly sins. The word pride in the 7 deadly sins is translated into Japanese as gomen, and translated into Latin as arrogantia. In other words, it is speculated that Orgodemir's motif is Lucifer, who controls pride. Orgodemir's first form looks like a snake. Think this figure is based on the serpent that seduced Adam and Eve. In the second form, it is difficult to determine the gender, and it has a humanoid appearance with wings. Fallen angels like Lucifer have no gender, so I think the second form of Orgodemir is based on Lucifer. Orgodemir and Lucifer also have something in common in values. They both have ambitions to surpass God. Lucifer tries to gain power over God, incurs God's wrath, and becomes a fallen angel. Orgodemir waged war against the gods for control of the world. In this way, Orgodemir and Lucifer have many things in common. If look into Lucifer, find something even more interesting. Lucifer had a wife named Lilith. Lilith originally lived in Eden with Adam, but she got into an argument with Adam and left Eden. She was told by God to return to Eden, but when she refused, she was punished by God. The punishment given to her is that she must give birth to many children every day and kill 100 of them herself. Unable to bear this punishment, Lilith takes her own life. There is a theory that the origin of the name Lilith is the Hebrew word Layla, which means night. Lucifer, whose wife is Layla. Kefir, whose wife is Layla. This commonality cannot be considered a coincidence. These similarities allow us to infer that Kiefer's motif is Lucifer. Also, as I said earlier, the motif of Orgodemir is also thought to be Lucifer. In other words, it was speculated that the two characters with the common motif of Lucifer were the same person. Kiefer's wife Layla and Lucifer's wife Lilith also have something in common. What they have in common is that they both rebel against God. Layla is a dancer from Deja, a tribe that serves the gods, but she has doubts about her way of life. Lilith is also being punished for disobeying God. The similarities between Layla and Lilith also support the Kiefer equals Orgodemir hypothesis. Although it is a bit forced, by looking at the contents of the Old Testament can find some similarities between Kiefer and Orgodemir. There is another thing in common between DQ7 and the Old Testament. The forbidden fruit that Adam and Eve ate is said to be an apple. And when you look at the DQ7 package, you can see Maribel chewing on an apple. Eve ate an apple, which is a forbidden fruit, and Maribel eating an apple. This is probably no coincidence either. What is important when looking at the Kiefer equals Orgodemir hypothesis is the content that was changed during the production stage. It is said that the story of DQ7 was significantly changed during the production stage. Producer Yuji Horii talks about this as follows. Kiefer's departure from the party was planned for later in the story. It is said that the early timing of Kiefer's departure was due to the fact that it would have been a big shock to the users who raised Kiefer's level if Kiefer left the party in the later stages. But it is said that there is another reason. The reason for this is due to the promotion of DQ7 before its release. Before a new game is released, the manufacturer's public relations department provides information to magazines and other companies. The reason for this is due to the promotion of DQ7 before its release. Before the release of DQ7, Horii was so busy that public relations was left to the public relations department. But, in the end, the public relations department ended up providing more information to the media than Horii had imagined. Horii was furious about this and wrote on his blog about the release delay and his dissatisfaction. Horii then posted an apology on his blog, explaining that the release delay and public relations issue had nothing to do with it. However, it is said that the story had to be changed due to excessive information provided by the public relations department. This is just my speculation, but I think there was originally a development in which Kiefer would become Orgodemir later in the story. I will tell you some reasons why I think so. As I said at the beginning, DQ7 is different from previous DQs in that it depicts the ugly parts of humans everywhere. Could it be that Kiefer, who witnessed various ugly parts of humans while traveling around various worlds, gradually developed a demonic heart? And I suspect that there was a story in which he transformed into a demon lord who threatened people before he knew it. This is an excerpt from the official book, and although Kiefer is not supposed to be in this photo scene, he is also in the photo. Can assume that this photo means that the original plan was for Kiefer to leave the party at the end of the story. The next thing to be concerned about is the existence of Ra's mirror. Ra's mirror has appeared in many works in the DQ series as an important item related to the story. Ra's mirror is a mirror that reflects the truth, and was used to reveal the true identity of monsters disguised as humans. This is a scene from DQ3, where Ra's mirror is used to reveal the true identity of a monster disguised as a king. Similarly, in DQ5, there is an episode in which the Queen uses Ra's mirror to reveal the true identity of the monster that has become her queen. In DQ6, there is an episode where Ra's mirror transforms King Somnia into a woman. Ra's mirror returned King Somnia from the dream world to her true form, Queen Somnia. In this way, Ra's mirror has appeared as an important item in the story in the DQ series. And Ra's mirror also appears in DQ7. However, Ra's mirror in DQ7 appears as an item that has no effect on the story. Ra's mirror in DQ7 has no use other than to cancel the spell, Morph, used by monsters. By the way, Morph is a spell in which a monster transforms into a member of the main characters, copies their abilities, and launches an attack. Morph is not a spell that poses a threat, so Ra's mirror is honestly of little use. The time to obtain Ra's mirror is in the final dungeon, just before clear the game. Considering Ra's mirror in previous DQ works, I thought there would be an episode using Ra's mirror at the end, but the story ends without it being used. But can we think of it this way? After acquiring Ra's mirror, wasn't some episode using Ra's mirror originally planned? And after getting Ra's mirror, the only episode is the battle with Orgodemir. So, wasn't Ra's mirror intended to be used against Orgodemir? And the true identity of Orgodemir revealed by Ra's mirror may have been Kiefer, who was scheduled to leave the party at the end of the story. Also, can acquire the spell, the Greater Leveler, at the end of the story. However, the Greater Leveler is not very useful, and it has no effect on the story even if don't master it. The Greater Leveler has a lower spell called the Great Leveler. The Great Leveler is a spell that has a very important meaning in the story. The Great Leveler is a spell created to counter the forbidden spell, Manastis. Manastis is a terrifying spell that dramatically improves the user's combat ability, but instead robs the user of their sense of self. A secret technique called Secret of Evolution appears in DQ4, and it is a forbidden spell similar to that. In DQ7, there is a scene where King Zeppel uses Manastis out of greed for power, but is defeated by his strength. And the spell used to bring back Zeppel, who had lost his sense of self, was the Great Leveler. Manastis was activated in an unfinished state, so although it cannot completely restore Zeppel to his original state, it does succeed in weakening his power. When Melvin saw Zeppel using Manastis, he said, it was like he was emitting the evil energy of a demon king. There is an episode in which the Great Leveler plays an active role, so why is there no such episode in The Greater Leveler? This is just my speculation, but it's possible that an episode featuring the Greater Leveler was originally planned. Based on what I've talked about so far, I think can see the story of DQ7 that Hori originally wanted to portray. I'll tell you a little bit about what I guess. Ra's mirror, which can be obtained at the end of the story, and the Greater Leveler, which can also be acquired at the end. I believe that these were originally prepared to reveal someone's true identity and restore them to their original state. And I'm guessing that Ra's mirror and Greater Leveler was supposed to be used against Orgodemir. As Kiefer travels around the world, he sees the ugly side of people and ends up losing faith in God itself. Eventually, his heart becomes fascinated by demons, and he becomes an Orgodemir due to forbidden spells like Manastis. The protagonists who challenged Orgodemir to battle used Ra's mirror during the battle. Then, Orgodemir's appearance changed to that of Kiefer. My guess is, didn't DQ7 originally have a story like this? I'm guessing that the Kiefer equals Orgodemir hypothesis means that a story like this was originally planned, but it was changed. Also, as I mentioned in another video, there is a story related to DQ6. This is what Hori answered in an interview regarding the production of DQ6. I'm thinking of making DQ6 a DQ with the Demon King as the main character. In the end, DQ6 did not become a story in which the Demon King was the main character. However, didn't Hori try to do something with DQ7 that they couldn't do with DQ6? That's what I think. DQ series has one theme. The Demon King is a symbol of the weak and evil side of the human heart. A hero is a symbol of courage in overcoming the weak and evil side. These two hearts are something that all people have, and while humans can become strong, they can also become weak. As I said at the beginning, I would like to reiterate the catch copy of the Japanese version of DQ7 can be anyone. Doesn't this mean that people have both the possibility of becoming weak and the possibility of becoming stronger? So I think you can guess like this. By portraying the main character as a hero with a strong heart and Kiefer as a human being controlled by a weak heart, I think he was trying to depict two sides of the human heart. Hori says this about not making the main character a demon king in DQ6. Users would not be able to empathize with a story where the main character is a demon king. Considering this, I don't think it would be strange if DQ7 was planned to have a story in which the main character is not made into a demon king, but his best friend Kiefer is made into a demon king. If there was a story in which Kiefer becomes Orgodemir, the letter from Kiefer at the end would have a different impression. There is a scene where the world returns to peace after Orgodemir's death, and the main character is working as a fisherman with his father. A stone tablet was pulled up along with the fish into the net, and it was a letter from Kiefer. Dear friend, I'm currently traveling with Layla from Deja. How long has it been since we parted ways? Since that day, I don't know where Jan has gone. I married Layla to protect Deja. If you ever read this, please tell my father. Father, Kiefer is doing well. And my best friend, no matter how far apart we are, we're still friends, right? If this letter was written before Kiefer's heart became infected with evil in the story of his becoming Orgodemir, I think it would be quite sad. Hero is symbol of courage. Demon King is symbol of a weak heart. And the catch copy of this story can be anyone. If there had been a story like this where the two take different paths, it would have been a Dragon Quest story with deep themes. As I said at the beginning of this video, I think the Kiefer equals Orgodemir hypothesis is wrong. However, I think there is a possibility that DQ7 became such a story. That's all for this video. I would be happy if you could get a feel for a different side of DQ7 through this video.